Hi, how are ya? My name's Beta, and today I'll be telling the story of how a furry meme saved my life. No, I'm not kidding. In all seriousness, this is something that happened to me, it is a part of my life, and it's kinda sad if you think about it. Like, a furry meme, of all things, changed my life. Or I guess it's more of the event happened back then than like the meme is portrayed now that resembles the event that happened back then. So I don't know if this still applies, but it's still a pretty neat story. The context for this video even happening came from one specific meme that was sent in to me from a fan on my Discord server. For one of my videos, I asked people to send in their favorite furry memes and I'd go over them on stream. The video is actually up on my channel. If you haven't watched it, you totally should. Okay, what the fuck is going on outside? There are so many grounds in this coffee. I'm just so disappointed in myself. I'm sorry. But who am I apologizing to? You guys don't care. And this was the meme in question. Introverts don't make friends, they get adopted by extroverts. Originally, I thought the meme was pretty funny and relatable because I was the introverted friend who was taken to all these other places by my extroverted friends. You know, it's sort of the furry bottom-top dynamic. Bottoms can't make decisions, tops make all the decisions. But not within, you know, that context. But just more so, I thought it was a cute and relatable meme. I thought it was more so funny that this was being highlighted when this exact situation has happened for years now. But I gushed over it for like 4 or 5 minutes on my stream, and that was it. But I ended up looking back at all the pictures and fun moments and good times I had with this friend that basically changed my life. The exact situation happening of me being an introverted friend and being dragged around to all these fun furry-related local events by an extroverted friend is the reason why I'm here today. Not really in a dark or morbid sense, but the reason why I have any friends and why I'm who I am today is because of this exact thing happening. So for the story, this goes back to about 4 or so years ago, back in 2018, when I was still a junior in college, which around this time I had only just gotten into the furry community. And during around the fall season, I didn't know any of the locals, I didn't know anyone nearby who was a furry that I could interact or chill with, and most of my furry fandom interactions were limited to the online world, with live streaming, YouTube videos, Twitter, back when it was better, but realistically I didn't have too many friends local to me. While I was in school during the fall, I actually had a sort of internship project thing with the school, where every day I would commute into Boston for an hour and a half there, hour and a half back. I'd work at a cubicle desk job, doing research, paper shuffling, the stereotypical cubicle job stuff, and during the weekends I would have a little bit of free time, but I would mainly be working on my research paper or whatever else I had going on with school. It was the only thing that I was doing for that entire term for 7 weeks in the fall, and oh my god, it was exhausting. So realistically, I didn't have that much time to do much. Now, if we go back a little bit to my first furry convention in the beginning of February, and this was where I started partaking in the furry fandom, I knew absolutely no one at that convention. I knew like maybe one person, but for most of the time I was there, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't saying hi to anyone. I was just making my routine loop around the main convention area and then going to check my phone and then doing that again. So for a first furry convention, it wasn't the best, but I did get to see some of the people that attended. And one of these people that attended was actually Pineapple Fox. This was my first ever interaction from a distance with him. If you don't know him, he's an absolute sweetheart. He's one of my best friends in the whole world. I love him to death. He's like family to me at this point, because at the time I didn't know him at all. I didn't even know his name. I didn't know who he was. I was just walking around the main convention space and I saw this just unit of a fursuiter just walking around. He actually had a lifeguard sort of beach attire. He had like a cheap beach tank top, the whole lifeguard aesthetic going on. It was really cute. I liked it. And as I was doing the weird thing of people watching, I saw a young girl run up to him yelling like, Pineapple Fox, it's so good to see you. And he gives her a big hug. And it's a really wholesome moment. And in my head, I'm thinking, wow, I don't want to say hi to him. I don't know him at all. Do I call him by Pineapple? You know what? I'll say hi to him next year. I'll just find him on Twitter at some point and tell him I saw him and that'll be it. Fast forward like a week after the convention where people were retweeting a bunch of the A&E photos and I happened to find his and his Twitter so I messaged him. And I was just like, hey, I saw you at Anthro New England in passing. I didn't really know you at the time. I still don't really know you now, so I apologize for this awkwardness. But I just wanted to say, you look pretty cool. Your fursuit looks awesome. And I'm hoping I'll get to say hi to or see you next year. And that's all I sent him. I sent him a really awkward, but also somewhat endearing message.
Don't talk to me or my son ever again.
And he got back to me and we started just chatting back and forth about things, about like furry stuff and how he knew me through my 7 levels of being a furry video. Not my proudest moment in my life, I get that. But he said he somewhat knew me through YouTube and we just kind of started talking about like fursuits and camera equipment since he's a fan of like Super 8 films and all that. But at this point we were just kind of acquaintances talking every so often. But later I messaged him saying, hey, you know, it was nice to meet you. I'm sorry it was very brief. I'm local to the New England area, so if there's anything going on, I'd love to meet you. And that was really that. I didn't really hear anything much else until I was invited later on in September to a local New Hampshire party that was happening. He said, hey, you know, there's this party happening. You should come to it. I'd love to actually like meet you and spend time with you. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And this is like the first time I was ever invited to anything local to the area. So fast forward back to September where I'm in college, I'm working on my internship, my junior year thesis, like the passive aggressive sticky note-esque like behavior from my fraternity at the time, which yes, I was in a fraternity, but like most of them didn't really like me or interact with me as much. I had like a few friends. But even then, I barely got to see anyone besides my group mates for my project or my co-workers or my professor that was always displeased with every single thing we did. It was not a good time for me. The project was fun. I surprisingly enjoyed the commute, but it was exhausting. I had little to no energy to do anything or interact with anyone, even though I really wanted to. I had just started getting involved in the furry community, someplace that I actually felt welcome in. I wanted to get to know people and I wanted to partake in the events happening in the local area. But I didn't know where to start and I didn't have the time or patience to look into it because social anxieties and also my life being consumed by just everything else. So yeah, not a great time for me. Like, at all. Just gonna say it, I was just not okay. But now we're back at the point where I received the invite from Pineapple to go to this random party in New Hampshire, and I could bring a +1. So I decided to bring one of my closest friends in the fraternity, known as the Village Idiot 2. You know, there was supposed to be something happening that weekend, and we just decided, fuck it, and we went. Or rather, he took me because he had his car, and I had no car. And it was also like an hour drive, so yeah, it was a bit of a benefit. So when I got there, the first person I met was Pineapple Fox. And I spent pretty much most of that event with him and the friends that I knew there. And I can recall this very vaguely, but I was very standoffish and kind of just did my own thing if I wasn't with either of those people. I'm an introvert. I didn't know how to say hi to other people at the time. You don't really see that much with me now, but I was very much anxious and awkward back then. Probably still awkward now. But every time that happened where I was just kind of standoffish on my phone, Pineapple would like grab me, have me like interact with the group that he was like chilling with, you know, ask me if I wanted to do something, if I wanted like a drink or wanted some food or something, help him handle in fursuit. You know how you have like a fursuit handler to help people going around in fursuit. And little did I realize that this exact meme was happening, where I was the introvert and the extrovert just kind of adopted me and dragged me along to all these other things happening. And after that, I can wholeheartedly say that that party was one of the first good experiences that I've ever had at sort of a social event. But after the party and the weekend was over, I was feeling a bit of PCD. Like, I had a good time and I really didn't want to go back to being alone for the next like 5 weeks of my life. So I decided one of the things that I wanted to do was try to plan stuff for myself, at least one thing during the week to be excited about. And that was when I hit up Pineapple again and was like, hey, you know, thank you again for inviting me to the party. I had a really good time spending time with you. If you want to, you seemed a bit interested in like my YouTube and streaming stuff, you're welcome to come by to my place and we could like live stream and you know, you can hang out. It wasn't me asking him on a date or anything. And he's like, sure, let's do that. And so he'd make the drive up to my place like once a week or so and we'd live stream together. He'd get in fursuit, he'd interact with my YouTube streams, you know, we'd get some really good college town food. It was a good time. And we kept this routine going on for a good few months. And during a couple of these points, he'd tell me he'd have something going on during the weekend, like, oh, there's a furry meet, we're going go-karting, or oh, we're going on like a haunted hayride because it's like the fall season. And I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool, hope you have fun at it. And he'd be like, well, you're coming with us. What? I have college things. He's like, no, you're coming with us. We'll manage the rides. You just come with me. We're going to the event and we'll drive you back home when the weekend's over. And I was like trying to make my little mini excuses like, oh, like I've got my group meeting. I gotta like do this for the project. He's like, just bring your laptop, come with us, have fun. And he basically did the friendly thing of kidnapping me to these events. And I'd get to meet more people. I'd be slowly making my way out of my internal introvert shell. There was a time where he had to film an advert for Apocalypse 2018 happening later that month. And so I went to help film with that. And it was pretty cool. I got to meet a bunch of fursuiters who were local to the area that I wanted to get to meet and say hi to because they were cute fursuiters. Ooh, that killed me inside to somewhat say that. And I got a bunch of pictures from there. It took place in like some weird outskirt mall thing.
Oh God!
Some of the stores were closed down. It was pretty cool. It was cool to be there. There was also a haunted Thomas train. I don't know what this shit is. It is terrifying though. But it was honestly one of like the most fun times I had ever had in my life up to that point. And that's why I'm having this weird nostalgia trip moment, because this is the time where it happened 4 years ago. You know, originally it was where Pineapple would introduce me to people, like the first few times, because obviously I'm a socially anxious mess. But I can recall that it eventually got to the point where I was just saying hi to other people that I saw. I'm like, hey, you know, I like your suit. I'm Beta. Nice to meet you. And I just be friendly. I got to meet people like Gale and MOSFET, and they're wonderful people. I planned a whole thing where we got together during the evening. It was awesome. But it's just, I didn't realize that this specific meme of introverts adopting extroverts is such a positive impact. It's unreal. And even later that year, I was going to Furpocalypse just for like a day or so. But back then in 2018, it was the old hotel. I show up at the location. I'm like in the parking lot walking to the hotel with my stuff. And Pineapple's just chilling there with like a bunch of other friends. He runs over to me. He's like, gives me a hug. And I'm like, hi, it's nice to see you again. He's like, you should come to my room and hang out. Also bring your stuff there because you're going to stay there with us. Okay, sure, let's do this. And the room he had rented out was the manager's suite of the hotel because he wanted to throw a really big and cool party. But like it just happened. I showed up. I didn't say anything about like a room or anything. For all he knew, I could have already had a room. But he just told me, oh yeah, you know, come with me. You're staying with us for the weekend. And it's like, I'm down for that. And it just like happened. The exact situation happened. You remove the leash and the collar and put a metaphorical one on me. I have no choice but to do this. And that's what happened. And it was super fucking cool. Like I spent most of that convention just vibing with him and meeting new people around. I think I also got to fursuit as him at the convention. He was just like, hey, you want to wear my fursuit? I'm like, sure, I have broad shoulders. I hope I don't ruin it. He's like, no, you're gonna be fine. If you want the full in-depth recap of what happened during my Furpocalypse 2018 experience, link to that video in the description and also, you know, thumbnail on screen. It shows pretty much everything that happened during the con, and it was an absolute blast. It was probably the most social I had ever been since like rushing fraternities the year before. And even then, I was an anxious mess. But at that moment for me in like 2018, I was just living off of all the good vibes and being around so many wonderful people. I was having fun going out and being social, when like a few weeks before, I was scared shitless to do that. You know, even though I was still introvert, I feel like I was becoming somewhat ambivert, as it were, you know, flip-flopping between the two and enjoying being social while also enjoying, you know, alone time where I can just chill and like watch Treasure Planet or something. And this all kind of came to a point at MFF later that year, which is the biggest furry convention ever. And I went into that knowing absolutely nothing about how that convention worked, and I still had the time of my life. Pineapple and I were both at MFF, but we barely saw one another. Like, we saw one another for like 5 minutes throughout the entire convention. Like, we were both going around doing our own thing. I was meeting new people. I was going around with those friends. I was planning other things with other friends. It was such a good time. And thinking back on it, I wouldn't have been able to have done that if I didn't have the prior experience and just desire to socialize that I was given from Pineapple. And that's where I'm saying that this meme, this dumb, stupid meme, is the reason why I'm here today. It's the reason why I'm not a socially anxious mess. It's the reason why I can go in front of people and do a panel just off the get-go, hungover at like 9 a.m. at like a convention, which has happened before. And it's thanks to this exact situation and Pineapple basically kidnapping me to all these events. And I'm genuinely super, super grateful of that. In fact, I try to pay it forward to like friends that I see who are, you know, doing the same thing I did, socially anxious, you know, scared to interact. I'll just bring them over and it's like, hey, you should join us for like going to get food. You want to help me handle when I'm in fursuit? I just like seeing people flourish socially. Being in that exact same situation I was when I started coming out of my shell and was having the time of my life at Furpok, which quite frankly was like moldy hotel, but it was still super fun and memorable. So that's why, honestly, that furry meme has saved my life. Not in the sense of like doom and gloom and somewhat morbid, but more so it's the reason why I'm here now. And genuinely, I am so extremely grateful for Pineapple doing that for me. Now, granted, was it all just Pineapple? Not necessarily. There had to be some initiation on my end. There had to be some interest. I can't just, you know, wait patiently for someone to interact with me. You gotta put yourself out there to some extent. You gotta step out of your comfort zone a little bit and initiate something to show people that you are a person that exists. But I genuinely think that it's very much underappreciated and very much not talked about. You know, the social factor of furry is very much a scary thing to some. Not just because you're interacting with furries, but because if you know no one else and you're in the furry community, where do you start? That's why the extroverted furries that do start these events and want people to get to know and interact with each other are genuinely like the saving grace of the fandom. People like Pineapple, people like Gale. I talked about it before in my furry meets video, but she will literally do the same thing that happened with me with like other people that attend her fur meets. But whenever she sees someone just kind of off to the side, doesn't really, you know, where to start or what to do, she'll go over, introduce herself, bring them over to another group that's doing something else and try to get the ball rolling for them. They're the reason why people are able to mesh into other friend groups and why people who are just starting out are able to have lasting, lifelong friends. Overall, I think we need more people in the fandom like this. People willing to help others out who don't really know how to start in social situations. It doesn't necessarily mean invite them into your own friend group. It's just like, you know, give them some footing, steer them in the right direction. But I'm just excited now. I'm excited to be social. And I also don't know if I'm an ambivert or not. So we'll figure that out eventually, maybe. Either way, this is pretty much the meme that saved my life and is the reason why I have the friends that I do and I'm as social as I am in the furry fandom today. But on that note, thank you all for watching. Be sure to let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below, whether it was a sad story, as in the fact that, oh my god, he's a furry, and he's this involved, and this happened, it's sad, boo. Yeah, I'm looking at you, anti-furries. I know how much you love being edgy. I see what you're doing. By the way, I have a Patreon, so if you haven't joined that, you should totally do so. You get some really cool benefits. You get like a Discord role, you can suggest future video ideas, and you get showcased in these videos, so what's there not to love about that? Any support is greatly appreciated. If you want to join the community that I have a Discord server. It's where I do a lot of the interactive content, like the video that I discussed earlier, so be sure to go and check that out. Also, at this point, I probably have some sticker available for this month, the month of November, so be sure to check out my limited time merchandise. It's limited edition and limited time. What's there not to love about that? But either way, that about does it for me. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being a part of my sort of social journey so far. Hopefully I've aged well. And as always, stay life jacket. Take care. Also, for those that think that, you know, oh, that furry meme didn't save your life, it's a separate scenario. Well, you know, theoretically it did, because that meme was in a video that popped off very well and made me a good amount of money to be able to keep a roof over my head. So theoretically, that furry meme did save my life. You're welcome.